Okay.
I can see everyone coming in. Do you want to, anyone joining us, do you want to just type your name in the chat box and say where you're from? Oop, there we go. Rebecca from Hampshire.
I usually love this bit because everyone just goes, wow.
Shirley from London. Is that our Shirley Ann?
No, but we do have Pasit from Bangkok. Yes. I'm hazarding a guess. It's almost as warm in England as it is in Bangkok.
Italy, Scotland,
Sicily, Norway.
Copenhagen,
Oh, it must be early in Virginia. It's quite...
Maryland.
Oh, Japan. Hi. Konnichiwa. Genki desu ka? Genki yaro. Right, put it on there. They'll know yakisugi.
Gosh, all over.
Oh, rainy season, but yes, warm. Hi, Master. Well,
Fantastic.
Colombia.
Oh,
Oh, my heart goes out to everyone
still
in Colombia, right?
joining. We'll
Heart
give
goes
it
out to everyone in Colombia right now. Yeah. Hi,
Lancaster.
Lloyd. Long time no see.
Right, I think
Oh, Lydia as
we
well.
will start,
Y-
Sarah.
Yeah. So, hello everybody, and welcome to today's Art Cafe, building multiple income streams as an artist and what actually works. I'm Sarah. I'm the VAA's digital marketing executive, and you may know me from such places as the social media comments. I'll be your host for today's session, and we've got a brilliant panel joining us to talk about the different ways artists can build more sustainable and diverse income streams around their practice. Before we begin, just a couple of quick things. So we really want today to be conversational, so please do get involved. You can pop your questions in the Q&A box at any point throughout the session, and we'll come to as many as we can if we have time at the end. You're also very welcome to use the chat to say hello, tell us where you're from, which you already have a little bit, and connect with everybody else here today. I'd also recommend grabbing a piece of paper and a pen if you haven't already, because hopefully there'll be plenty of useful tips and ideas you'll want to make a note of as we go. And for the best viewing experience, you might want to switch your Zoom to gallery view so you can see all of the speakers together during the conversation. And just so everybody is aware, today's session is being recorded and we'll share the recording with you afterwards. So grab your coffee, get comfortable, and let's get started. So very quickly, here's what we've got coming up today. So we'll start with a few upcoming VAA opportunities, including open spaces and some of our latest events and programs. Then we'll move into our main conversation around building multiple income streams as an artist and what actually works in practice. After that, we will look at the key takeaways from today's session, and then if we've got time, open things up for your questions and have a wider conversation with the panel. So first up, I really want to put Open Spaces 2026 on your radar because this is a particularly exciting one. Open Spaces is a global art trail, taking art beyond traditional gallery walls and into unexpected everyday spaces across the UK, Europe, and beyond. We've brought together an incredible range of international venues, giving artists the opportunity to become part of a much bigger global trail. While exhibiting their work in spaces in front of audiences they may not ordinarily reach. It's really about discovering new places for art to exist, making new connections, and being part of something happening across multiple countries at the same time. Applications are now open and close on the 30th of August. So if exhibiting your work somewhere a little unexpected sounds exciting to you, I definitely recommend having a look at that. And you can find everything you need to know on our website. And then we've got a couple of events coming up next week. On the 18th of August, we have our group mentorship session, troubleshooting your exhibition plans. And then on the 19th of August, we have our artist development sessions with gallerist, curator, and lecturer Richard Kellman. And again, you can find all the information you need on our website. And then finally, starting on the 25th of August, we have Beyond Borders Exhibiting Internationally, which is a 4-week online program with Tamara. It's designed to help artists understand how international galleries and art fairs operate, identify the right opportunities for their practice, approach galleries and curators with more confidence, and navigate some of the practicalities of exhibiting internationally. And there's a QR code on the screen if you'd like to find out more about that. And now I'm going to hand over to Laura O'Hare, our director at the VAA, to introduce the panel.
Brilliant. Thank you, Sarah. A really warm welcome to our panel today. Ellie and Glenn, who is joined by our very own Karen Van Hoey Smith. Before we dive into the questions, a little bit of information on both Ellie and Glenn. So first of all, Ellie, as well as being an artist, is winner of the Dubell Art Prize 25 to 26. She is an Oxford-educated artist with 2 MAs in fine art and philosophy. She's currently completing a PhD research in art and aesthetics. Her practice spans original work, teaching and research, and her work features in the collection of Magdalen College, Oxford. She has received international recognition as well from the Abu Dhabi Art Society. She is also a qualified teacher in art, philosophy, and art history. Ellie is joined by Glenn Farrelly, RCA, who is a sculptor whose practice is rooted in material transformation, memory, and renewal. He trained at Camberwell College of Arts, graduating with a BA Honours in Fine Art Ceramics before embarking on a distinguished 20-year career in education as head of art in a leading independent school in London. Now based in North Wales, Glenn works with reclaimed and storm-fallen timber, often using the ancient Japanese technique, and Cara might help me here, of yakisugi.
Yakisugi, well done.
Sculptures have been exhibited internationally and are currently shown across the UK in prestigious sculpture parks and galleries. So welcome, Ellie and Glenn. My first question, actually, to the whole panel, including Karen as well. When you think about the creative industries today, what do you think has changed the most about how artists build a sustainable career compared with, say, 10 or 20 years ago? Who would like to answer that first? Perhaps, yeah, Ellie?
I think that it's a really good question, Laura. I think the old model was much more dependent on gatekeepers, galleries, agents, institutions, publishers, what have you. And the digital platforms have kind of transformed that really. So we can now reach audiences directly, clients directly, internationally. But so it creates enormous opportunity. But it does mean that as artists, we have to then navigate, our own marketing communication. There's a sort of an increased intensity there, as well as with the kind of posting and the kind of Instagram pressure to post a lot. And there's also far more competition for attention. So I think, that's how I would characterize it as having changed. But the art remains at the center, and the business structure that we create exists to support that art, but it's now navigating a slightly different landscape.
No, definitely. It's turned so much more to the digital landscape. And Glenn, do you have anything to add? What have you noticed has changed over the past sort of 10, 20 years?
I think since COVID, things changed a lot. A lot of businesses went out of business. A lot of galleries went out of business. And when COVID hit, there was other ways of showing your work. So it sort of brought over the whole social media side of having exhibitions online, became more frequent, and so your work was then global straight away, so not just sat in the gallery. And I think because a lot of the galleries unfortunately are still going out of business, we're now looking at that whole sort of media way of getting it out there to people. But that's can be a good thing as well, so more people get to see your works, not people that would necessarily walk into a gallery. And I found in the last couple of years, the spaces that galleries are overtaking, it's like an organization that will take over a shopping center, for example, like a shop there, where you get people that have never stepped inside a gallery will pass by and will walk in. So although sometimes it's a bad thing that obviously the galleries are closing down, there are now different opportunities to get your work seen. So that's been my biggest thing, is like obviously the worry of, things closing down in the economic climate.
Yeah, there's a move to, like you say, multiple income streams, self-representation. And Karen, you work with artists all the time, and you've worked with artists sort of for 20, 10 years, through that period.
Yeah.
What are the key changes, and how are you working with artists now?
I think personally, obviously there's the hybrid models. Was before, if you're a gallery, there often was exclusivity or you chose a certain route, and now that hybrid model is much more acceptable. Even during my time with representing artists, I would tailor my agreements and contracts to have specific things that you could do. So that's great, because you're not just locked into one place, which was bricks and mortar and relying on previous databases, etc. Also, that diversification of the different streams, it's less likely to be looked down upon if you want to go and create more something like the 18th century with the William Kent, where I design the furniture, I design the building, I do the wallpaper, I do the art. That's more acceptable for artists to have those multiple streams of income in different ways with their art, if that wants. And also the acknowledgement that the audience has changed. For so many years, galleries were just talking to that specific age of person who learnt when they walked in and you said, this is good art, this is bad art, you should buy this. The younger audiences want to know the artist. They want to research. They want to see what they do. They want to align their core values with them. And I think that's a really exciting part for artists, that you get to have that connectivity and people want to align themselves and buy into your universe, into your portal, into your work, rather than going, well, that's going to make me some money in 20 years' time.
So that nice connection directly with the buyers. And would you say that, Ellie and Glenn, you're getting that connection more now with the buyers, the audience?
Oh yeah, totally. I mean, I think
definitely. I think they can Google you, they can find you, they can see if they like you, they can see other work you've done, they can see your history of where you've exhibited. And I think that's good. They can reach out and ask the questions they want to ask, rather than trying to find you in a gallery and you're not there that day. It's just opened it up a lot more. And I love talking to people that buy my work or like my work or even ask advice on my work. It's great. I'm always there for sharing. I've had artists in the past that say, I'm not telling you how I did that. And I was like, all right, fair enough, move on. But the majority of people that get in touch, it's a great experience. It's very positive.
Well, you've been recently, I was going to say, Glenn, you were recently exhibiting at Palais Hall, and I met you there. And actually, on that occasion, you connected with a new buyer and were talking directly.
I find meeting the clients is brilliant. I sell more when I meet people, put it that way, whether it's online or whether it's in person.
Yeah, 100%. And sorry, Ellie.
I think there was a glitch there between the internet going off somewhere in Central. No one knew what was going on.
Yeah, no, I was about to say that I really build so many relationships with clients, because actually one aspect of my work, which I think maybe was a bit lost in the description about what I do, is that I've had a long history of commissioned portraiture. So, for me, that's a sort of natural thing to build relationships with clients. But it's become very, very useful to actually meet people and be able to build that relationship with selling my own work as well, because, my personal work, because it's just vital these days to actually connect with people and to be able to talk about your work really passionately and to know authentically where you're going with it is very much part of the work. I think, when I was studying, and bearing in mind, I went to Oxford from a state school, so I found it like crazy intimidating when I went there. But it was all this kind of theory about, postmodernism. You weren't really supposed to talk about the artist and what they did or who they were personally. It was all very kind of removed in a theoretical sense. And I think that that's changed now, both kind of intellectually in the, university realm of how we talk about art and also how artists practice. So now, it's really important to grasp that your authentic self is very valuable, not just monetarily, but it's valuable for you as someone who's pushing forward your business and supporting yourself.
Yeah.
Can I just quickly say something before we go?
Mhm.
I'm neurodiverse. I work with people that are neurodiverse. If I understand people that are shy, I work with artists that are having to hide who they are. When we say that connection, it doesn't always need to be just you in person. There are ways to navigate around that, to get your story over, get those conversations. Just in case I can feel somehow the energy of people going, oh, I don't like people. But there are ways around that as well.
Lots of different ways to connect.
Yeah, I would say though from that, and I totally think that's right, Karen, but I do think there's a sort of malaise with being constantly on digital media, and there's a kind of general zeitgeist for feeling that it is nice to connect with people directly
Yeah.
again now,
Yeah.
especially after COVID and things. So I think it's just having that balance really, and
I think we're screaming for human contact.
yeah, and increasing your confidence of doing that. So if you feel scared about like communicating with clients, just to try to relax and to not feel, because the other thing about Instagram is it makes you feel you have to have a slightly a very curated self, and it's really important to know that you don't have to do that. You can be accepted for who you are. It's something that people will be interested in if they like the work.
Yeah, no, that's definitely I worked with a numerous artists that were domestic violence people, sufferers, victims who can't show their face. So we've worked with several of those of how do you do it without it being your face, but in a safe way. And
Yeah,
that
I've
could be
similarly worked with people like that. In fact, I've
yeah,
suffered that myself, so I'm well aware of those things. And I think
yeah,
that it's really important to support a diverse range of people.
yeah. Oh, fab. Oh, sorry, we've
Brilliant,
going off.
thank
I could just talk to Ellie for hours.
No, I'm enjoying this. So the next question is, we often hear that creators should have multiple income streams. What's one income stream you think more artists or creative professionals should be exploring, and why? Glenn, what would you say here?
Gosh, there's so many different things you can do. Like one thing that I do is I tutor, and because I was a teacher, it's natural for me to do that. And I know a lot of people won't be comfortable with it, but when I do tutor, I try to do it with what I'm doing at that point and use those experiences, what I'm creating to help them, so I don't feel like I'm moving too far away in my time away. But other times when I'm asked for a specific, so helping tutor someone who's doing an A level or GCSE, and you've got to obviously work through their program. Obviously I'll diverse into whatever they need. But that's one instant one, which obviously now you can do online as well. But I do that in person. I could keep going. Now you have to stop me with these things.
Well, what I'll do, Glenn, I'll whiz over to Ellie, see if she's got another one, and then we'll kind of see how we're getting on. Ellie, is there anything that you would add? Tutoring, that's quite a common additional income stream. Do you do that, or is there anything else?
Yeah. I've taught for about 10 years, and I taught in adult education. I think, Higher education, like now, is a strange atmosphere right now. It's quite strange, certainly about freedom of speech. It's quite peculiar. I think that that's difficult if you're an artist thinking about going into a realm in higher education where you're uncertain what you can say or not say. So I've done adult education for a long time. It's been amazing. Also, I think the thing I would say is that artists often kind of underestimate how much knowledge we've accumulated. So the thing is that we can teach, we can do workshops, we can mentor, talks, masterclass. So I'm doing a talk in London at the end of September, for example. I'm going to show a piece that a client has bought already, and he was very keen for me to show it there. And I did that before at the same place, and I sold another work. So it's just like constant kind of ways of small things. Doesn't have to be like a huge course that you're teaching or something at an institution. It could be just making connections with people, one-off talks, even maybe private tuition. I tell you what, it really is a question of just widening your sense of what you might do, and not thinking in a traditional way, just looking at it. You don't have to constantly have to sell another painting, from the studio or something, or even at a talk. You can, if it happens like it's happened to me just naturally, then it's really nice, you see. So the thing is you've got to think about it in terms of income stream, but also not to the extent that you think maybe that one thing is going to immediately become a sale at the end of it. And then if it doesn't, you're thinking, oh, that's useless. It's really important to kind of persevere and build those relationships along. And then sometimes that can really, really, really get much bigger, and you can get really good income from it. So it's patience and sort of building the relationships, doing it for the love of actually doing a talk, whatever, and also that can all kind of come together. That's what I found.
Yeah, it builds momentum over time, and it opens new doors that you wouldn't necessarily.
And it's having that faith and trust and confidence in your practice. I can't emphasize that enough for everyone who's listening. Just please have that faith and confidence in your practice. Don't kind of beat yourself up if something doesn't work immediately. It's really important just to keep going.
No, brilliant. Thank you. Ellie, just conscious of time, so I'm going to just move to the next one. And given what I said above on one income stream, we do know also that there's no one size fits all approach. How, from your experience, can artists perhaps work out which income streams genuinely suit their practice, their strengths and ambitions? I'm going to start with Karen on this one, because I know this is something that you work with your mentees as well.
No, it's working out what your income streams really are that are available to start with. So income streams I kind of see as you've got original artwork, you've got limited editions or hand embellished prints, publications, merchandise, collaborations, working with companies, and working like as in licensing your work. So it's kind of thinking to yourself, out of that, which is going to be something which is suitable for you and suitable for your work. Glenn's going to find it quite hard to get a giant tree and say, okay, I'm going to do an edition of 5 of these. But potentially, people love the work. Maybe it's a larger scale. For Glenn, for example, maybe he could think, well, do I want to do a photographic version of this to show what it was with a location? Do I want to have this modeled into perhaps either bronze or to resin or something that people can have a tangible piece? Perhaps I want to split it into shares and people have a shared ownership and it's an actual place that's within the wild. It's thinking about what would suit you for that. Number one, you're always going to have your original artwork. Okay. So number one, always try and sell that. If that's relatively cheap and then you start doing copies of it that are roughly the same price, it's not a great idea at the moment. You want to feel like there is a ladder, a step. The prints are either going to be smaller, more accessible. A lot of people are quite nomadic these days, or living in vans or smaller apartments. Or perhaps your originals are this much, and the print is the accessible market to it. Now, a lot of people tend to pick prints as their first multiple stream of income for doing things like that. Some people will do merchandise, and there's no rights or wrongs for this. Some of the biggest artists in the world have done it. When people will go, oh, that's so selling out and it's very commercial. But also, you would look at Yayoi Kusama and be like, she's a top artist. But I can go and buy a bag, and I can buy some wallpaper from that, and I can buy a book, as well as going and seeing a massive installation or exhibition. So that's kind of one idea that would suit you. But bearing in mind, these all take work. These aren't just an easy, a multiple stream isn't just something super easy. If you want to license your work, it is difficult, and it's a lot of work that you need to do for it. You won't necessarily just be picked up by an agent and it just use a piece of work that you already exist. So it's thinking, what is your time capacity? What is your current skill capacity? How much do you want to research on this? And kind of what is your idea of why you're trying to do the multiple streams of income? I would say as a bit of a baseline, which I'm sure you guys want to add to.
I mean, is there anything obviously from Glenn and Ellie's side to no one size fits all approach? How can artists work out which income streams genuinely fit their practice strength? How did you work that out?
Well, for me, it was a gallery told me how to do something other, and the other was I was making my work to fit inside a gallery, and didn't think about the elements outside. And they said, have you ever considered making your work so it's able to go inside and outside? So that was the first thing that sort of clicked in my head. And the work I do is using Yakasugi, makes it waterproof anyway. So then I was able to take my work outside and it would be absolutely fine. So that really, really helped me. But since doing that, I do lots of carving within my work. And I can take woodcut prints from it. I haven't done it yet, but that's my next idea, is to take prints directly from the work. So you'll have an original print every time you do something. So that for me, that's the one that fits me most. I think that's what you've got to find. Like sometimes, yes, you can try out this and you can try out that. But I think you've probably got an instinct of what the right thing is to do for you, whether it's if you're a painter, you take prints from it or make them into cards, or even you've got a canvas and you like one small area of it and you cut that up and that becomes a smaller painting. It's what's right for you, I think. And then I think your customers will also tell you quite quickly on whether it's right for them. And I think that will give you most of the indication.
Yeah, no, that makes complete sense, and I can see how those prints will really work. Ellie, do you have anything from your side?
Educator, like that must be natural.
Well, I think I suppose I reflect on this question in terms of you have to ask yourself what you're genuinely good at, really. Ask yourself what you genuinely enjoy and what you're good at. That's the first thing. What do people already come to you for? So, if we're talking about income, we're meaning people paying for something, and so you have to a certain extent, centralize a little bit what people actually want. And there's nothing kind of like, I don't think there's anything dirty or capitalistic about that. I think it's important to actually say to yourself, what do people already buy? What are they already interested in my work about? And then the other thing is, with different income streams, what can I do without damaging the time and energy needed for my main practice? So it's picking up on what Karen said, really, because it's like there's a lot of input and time that you have to put into thinking about how some of these things work, and thinking about your existing skills again. So yeah, prints is an option, but I think sometimes it's even focusing on building reputation or networks or access, which can become income streams later. And that feeds back into what I was saying earlier, because, some income streams build money directly and quickly. Prints, it's not ever going to be that much money, let's be honest, unless you build a very big reputation first and you can sell the prints for a lot of money. So considering your reputation and your networks and your access and what buyers want is a good starting point, I think, and thinking a little bit long term.
No, that's a really, really good point. My next question is, uh, can you share and it could be yourself actually, can you share an example of an artist or creative professional who's built a resilient career? What have they done particularly well, and what can we learn from their approach? Glenn.
Oh, someone I went to college with, actually. He's a year younger than me. He was in the year below me. Studied ceramics. Great ceramicist. Bit of a lad. I don't know if you know what that means across the world, but a bit of a like to drink, like to party, one of those types. And I thought he's never going to end up doing art, but he had such a natural knack for making things work. And he would create. He created an edition of making work that he put on a potter's wheel, which was a plate on a potter's wheel, which he used an angle grinder on to create these wonderful spirals. Loved them by themselves. Someone said, "Oh, I'd love these in my hotel," and he said, "Can you do 1,000 of them?" So it was a chain, and he said, "No, I can't do that." But he got a cast done, and that was it. Got a cast done, got them framed, sold and sold and sold, and he just found that niche.
Brilliant.
And he lives on those now. He lives on what he's done, and now he does paintings with just uses tubes of paint and splodges and things, and it's him, and they're brilliant. And I think it's because he diversified and he had the brain to think, how do I make this work for me? How do I make multiples? How can I do it? And even though he does that, every single piece, although they're mold cast, they still become individual. They're like just the display, the way he puts them together. Difficult to explain that without showing you his work.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, Owen Ward, if you can find him on the internet. He doesn't even need the internet. He's very good.
Have a look at Owen Ward. No, really, really good idea on how to build resilience, and then to create the work that you really want to create as well once you've built that resilience.
Exactly.
And Ellie, do you have any examples?
Oh, goodness. I mean, I suppose, a really obvious example is someone like Tracey Emin. I think she's kind of built her career in a really interesting way because she, started, I met her actually years ago in her shop, and she was at that point still doing videos, and she had some prints, and of course she did printmaking at Royal College. And it's kind of interesting how she really at that point was making a lot of connections. There were people coming to visit the shop, and she was really laying the foundations for what she is now. So when you look at where her career is now, you can see how those are all like laid out. And I think obviously, she does editions, so that, but she's built the value of those editions, and that's really the key thing. And I guess, it's interesting because there's a real vulnerability to her, isn't there? And so I think she's an interesting person to pick who I would view as resilient, because she really has, been through a lot, and it's part and parcel of the central focus of her work. But I suppose for me, in terms of trying to build my own resilience, if I can take me as a sort of mini example at the end there, is that, over time, I think my careers included teaching, commissions, public speaking, professional networks, and direct sales of work, as well as working in galleries. But I've always felt that I need to make the decisions myself. It's like people say different things, galleries say different things, and basically you're the one that's in control of your career. It's really important for you to feel, and it doesn't happen immediately, but to feel that you trust your gut in terms of how to build your own resilience, because it's you that's going through all these different things and experiencing these different stages and elements. So I think it also comes from having several doors into the same professional practice, like we're discussing. So, also what I've found very much is that different opportunities I've had, and I'm sure this happened with someone like Tracey Emin or, Damien Hirst, of course, the opportunities cross-pollinate. So, someone you may first encounter, you talk to, might become interested in the work later. So that's another reason to really feel confident in promoting yourself as part of the product, which is the situation we're in these days, if you call it black, absolutely boldly, but it can be a real powerful tool.
Brilliant. No, that's really good. And Karen, I know you've worked with so many artists over the years and currently got mentees. Is there an example of one particular artist or the resilience that they showed?
Well, if you're looking for bomb proof, then it's what Ellie just said, Damien Hirst. I mean, he's even laughing at himself, going, "Why are you buying this stuff?" But you know what? The way he did it was just fighting traditional business models. Instead of going to the galleries, he went, "I'm going straight to Sotheby's. I'm doing this." He built the atelier system. People go, "What? Well, what's that?" Well, Warhol's done it. They've done it through the Renaissance period. He just went, "No, I'm not going to do this. I'm not shy about the fact this is commercial. I'm going to sell these prints. You're still buying them. I'm here. I'm doing that." Still being recognized, working at Dismaland with Banksy, picked up by this, but he has got a very good commercial side head, half artist, half business. What I work with a lot of my artists is I say to them, imagine that you do have like a studio. You walk in the door and this is your gallery, but you have a desk. Now that's the person that takes the calls and finds the jobs for you. And you're in the back being the studio. You do need that admin person, and sometimes you just got to put that admin head on. How am I going to make some money today? How am I going to do this? How am I going to widen my audience? And you might need to separate from that. But I'd say really good examples are most street artists. Look at Bambi, female, brilliant, Dank. I'll put some of them in there. Silent Hobo, and I'm not talking the huge ones. Ben Ein. These are people that have got that level of resistance. They just started art for art's sake. Then they've gone, sod it, I'll do some prints. Then there's some stuff on originals on canvas. Like Bambi, I remember giving us some advice about the La La Land print and said, "Why don't you do it in 5 different colorways?" And then she did, and it was too expensive for me to buy. And they sold out in like 20 minutes. So I'm cursing myself. But you'll see them doing other things like that. And they've just got that sense of resilience. But all of them know it's a business as well. And I know you want to say my art is my passion, it's my life. It is. But I promise you, your food prices aren't going down, your gas prices aren't going down, your studio prices aren't, your delivery, your framing. These need to be paid for. This is live. You're creating something beautiful with an exchange value. And at the moment, that exchange value is money. We all hear the stories about Larry going to a cafe and doing something on here, or, Modigliani doing something to get a drink. You're just doing it for money, and it's fine to be a business head. It works.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, that sort of takes us on to the next question, doesn't it, really? About misconceptions about making a living from art, because it's vital that you do, and it's not a dirty thing to think commercially and to have that integrity. And I think, too much artists are kind of made to feel that they have to kind of lower their prices, or they're kind of saddled with that idea that we're all working in garrets, and it's or you're just doing it for passion, so you don't need the money. And forget all that. You need to feel confident in supporting yourself, definitely.
No,
You're worth it.
100%.
And flip my hair at the same time.
Yeah, we know that what the biggest misconception is, which was my next question. Unless, oh no, it's okay, that's fine. So the next question after that is, what's one opportunity you've seen unexpectedly change the direction of someone's career? How did it happen, and what can others learn? I think this is a really interesting question. And Glenn, has anything like that happened to you, or do you know of anyone?
Absolutely. I was putting some work on Instagram, and I was showing it outside in sculpture parks, and I put the hashtag garden designer on, and within 24 hours, a garden designer got in touch with me, saw my work, loved it, and said, "I would like you to create a piece for this particular garden, this design." And I'm still working with him today. Fingers crossed, there's another commission coming. I'm just waiting for them to get in touch. But that was one simple thing, and I loved those things. I loved the simple ones, the one that was literally a hashtag. And I just changed my way of thinking of, like, how can I get my work out there? I also got in touch with garden designers in my area as well. So I looked at a whole circle around and sent them examples of my work. And so that they know that they've got someone that they can go, oh, we need something in this part of the garden. I've got someone, we can get in touch with them, and then hopefully he'll have something for you, or I can commission him to do something for you. So that's just an easy one for me. That was the easy answer.
Yeah. So that hashtag really opened up everything for you. So the power of a good hashtag or an accidental hashtag.
I know.
And Ellie, do you have an example? It might be for yourself or another artist.
Oh yeah, I think a couple of things have probably happened in my career where, well, the competition I entered a couple of years ago, that I won this year and last year. I think that just happened quite unexpectedly because I was talking to some people in a gallery and they were to do with the competition, and I kind of like just got to know it, and I didn't know of it, and I entered it and I won it. So I was like, wow, if I hadn't gone into the gallery that day, if I hadn't just been kind of like curious or whatever, I wouldn't have known about it. And recently from that I got an interview. I had an interview about me and my work in Art Review, and so really good stuff, and it's sort of been a real platform for the work intellectually, and really developed it intellectually. And I think with my commissioned portrait practice, that's often been a little bit chance related, but where people have just met me, and then I've shown them some of my work. I've said what I do, and then they've been, oh wow, I really want a portrait or whatever. And yeah, so yeah, there've been some really really lovely kind of coincidences like that.
Yeah, no,
Can I give one example, Laura?
Yes, yeah, no, definitely.
For it as well, but Polly Merrigy, I don't know if you're on here, Polly, but Polly does very precise, neat, geometric, amazing work. And I pretty much bullied her into doing the Cheltenham Paint Festival, signed her up for it. And she's super shy. She's like, I'm just a single mum of three from Coventry. I don't want to. And you know what? She did that. She was so dedicated. It was totally different wall. I went up to support her. She painted this wall. They just thought she was freaking amazing for doing it. She then went on to be given a huge project of a gable end of a house. She'd never been on a stand or a lift before, and she learnt that. Then they made a documentary about her, and then she's been doing more and more public art. And she's from that, it not only got her more work because the public side then went to the website. They went, oh, these are lovely, who then went to that. We're actually putting in a huge 50 grand project at the moment to work with a rather substantial airport from this. But it was the confidence in her that changed. She went from just hiding away in the studio to like dyed her hair bright red and was like, hey, and she goes, my kids think I'm amazing now.
Oh,
because I'm not just Mum the artist. I was at a street festival with some of the biggest names. I was in the paper because of it. So sometimes what it is pushing yourself, or finding someone who's going to go boink boink and just push you a little bit out of your comfort zone to try something that might, like as you said, it feels serendipitous, but it's not. There's a reason you walked into that gallery.
Yeah.
There's a reason that person said to you, you thought about outside, and you're like, well, it's already waterproof. Why didn't I think of it? Sometimes it's that little push, and then you grow into something completely different, or you learn that's scary and you run back.
And actually kind of nicely leads me on to the next question, because have you seen so looking at maybe artists that might deliberately turn down opportunities because they didn't feel that they were the right fit, and what can we learn from knowing when to say yes, when is the right opportunity, and also when to say no, because you could say yes to everything and then you just exhaust yourself. What would you say there? What can we learn about knowing when to say yes and when to say no? And starting with Ellie on that one.
Yeah. So I think it's important to. I made some little thoughts here. I was just thinking that before accepting something, it's important to think: does it fit with the direction of my practice? And who is the audience? What's the actual professional benefit for me? What will it cost me in time, money, studio energy? And very crucially, am I saying yes because it's valuable, or because I'm frightened that another opportunity won't come? So I think that those are those questions that you need to ask yourself. And reasons to say no, I think, very poor terms, not getting paid anything, an audience that's unrelated to your work in a kind of very, very separate way. So, however, with what Glenn was saying about the garden designer, that is very interesting. But just trying to think, if it's completely unrelated or it's not something that's going to, emphasize your practice in a good way. Yeah. So key questions is, does this pay, and what kind of value does it create for you in terms of opportunity?
Yeah, looking at those real sort of practical considerations, which are really important. And Glenn, do you have anything to add on this point?
Yeah, I'd say, like Ellie said, most of it actually. I think I haven't said no many times, to be honest. I think I read everything that they tell me. I meet with them. I listen to what they're saying, and I think you do get a real sense of whether what they're asking you to do, does it fit with your own practice, and is it going to work within what you do and what else you need to do in that time. I've become a bit of a yes man recently, I think, and I don't think it's a bad thing. You've got to try. You've got to make. I think someone said earlier about making mistakes. Sometimes you can make mistakes, and I think that's important. To make the mistakes, and to learn from them and move on. But I think there's genuinely, in your gut if it's the right move most of the time.
There's only one little bit I've got to add. If it doesn't really fit within your core values and it's against your values, don't do it. And that's, I mean, I've turned down a substantial investment in a company of mine before because I knew that person was washing that money through something that goes very much against my core values. So, and I would rather take £1 off 100,000 people than take £100,000 off that person. But that's because my business had that very moral guideline. If it's something that really goes against yours,
I have massive respect for that, Karen. I really think that's I think that's true, because you then feel it's horrible to feel compromised.
Dirty money, and what? Don't get me wrong, like money's great, but I remember one of the artists I know, he turned down his time lapse being used for the largest mobile phone company in Brazil.
Wow.
Because one, they were actually notoriously basically criminals, I think. But two, they really wanted to underpay him for it. Right. And somebody was saying, but they're offering you 2,000. And he said, yeah, but have you seen the population of Brazil? And have you seen the market share that they have?
And the other thing is, it can be damaging, that sort of thing, because it can get known about, and then you're known to be like being underpaid. And so sometimes saying no is a real strength. It can be a real strength, and it can make you feel a lot better. And you suddenly get an opportunity that comes along that's much better, don't you? It's so I think what you're saying, Karen, is very valuable. It really is.
Well, this guy ended up going he launched Instagram with his music, with his artwork. He worked with Google, loads of those stuff. He's collected by that. He's worked with Hot Wheels and Levi's and Coca-Cola, heritage sites and all sorts of things, because he very much keeps within his moral compass.
Good.
So go with your go with your moral compass and the practical considerations as well. And I'm just conscious on time here. So just two questions. If someone wanted to become less reliant on a single source of income over the next 12 months, where would you encourage them to start, Glenn?
Oh gosh.
Well, not putting you on the spot here.
You put me on the spot. I think, well, for me, it would be because of my practice before being an artist, was teaching. I think I would find a teaching that suits me today so that I could keep working. I think that would be the main thing, in some way, shape or form. I do, obviously, I said already, I've done tutoring and do tutoring online, but also, finding the right spot, because coming out of teaching, very difficult to go back to. Lots and lots of things have changed, and I think I really want to concentrate on my artwork now. So it's like I'd have to find something that's that would suit me. That would be, I think, the main one.
Okay, teaching. And Ellie, what about you?
So I think how to become less reliant on one income source. I suppose really don't try and create kind of 5 new businesses at once. Try, one adjacent kind of income
Less
stream.
is more.
Yeah, I think what currently earns money, think about monetizing what's already working. Think about one realistic additional income stream that you can test, maybe with a specific financial target, So sort of thinking it's a bit boringly thinking in a sort of accountancy business way, a bit like what, Karen was saying, having that desk, that sense of sort of thinking about it, maybe review it in 3 to 6 months, whether to expand it and then try another one, So don't kind of overwork yourself. Don't kind of throw it all too much. Maybe 2 income streams, 1 or 2 that you can test alongside, see how they compare even. And think, what do people already ask me for? That's another thing. So coming back to that, think about your audience. What do they want? Kind of basic market research, really. I mean, I kind of in an advertising household. My dad was in advertising, so I kind of grew up with all that and worked for him when I was like really young. And that was quite helpful. I mean, Andy Warhol was similarly from an advertising background. And so sometimes actually doubling down on a more commercial approach can really help, because it's about efficiency really and what you can actually make work.
They're looking at what your client or what people want.
Yeah, definitely.
Is really, really important.
It is, because they're the buyers. That's what every other business does. Every other business, whatever it is I think it's only artists that are told that you have, if you're asking what people want, then you're somehow losing your soul. I mean, come on, we can kind of get rid of that now. There is a third way of being able to combine making something you're really passionate about and selling it. So yeah.
It's okay to say bye before I die. So the old model is when you're dead, you struggle, you starve to death, you go through pain. And then when you're dead, some of your family might get some of it, and you might not even like your family. So just have that bye before I die thing. It's fine.
Excellent. Right. Right, I'm going to do the closing question, which will be really, really quick and snappy. So hopefully we can answer a couple of questions. If everyone here left today and committed to taking just one action over the next month to build a more financially sustainable creative career, what would you encourage them to do, and why? Just one thing. Okay, Ellie, you're on the screen. So.
Okay, on the spot. Right. I would say treat your practice as a business for one afternoon. Think of it just for one afternoon. Write down every current income stream that you have. Write down every skill, asset, contact, and audience that you already have. What your network is, so you can see it on paper. Identify where you might be overly dependent on one source. And then choose, as I mentioned, one additional opportunity to test, and try to test it within the next 30 days. Give yourself a little bit of a cutoff, because it might need organization, but give yourself 30 days. And then, so, that's what I would say, just like a plan to do that. So you can then do an actual action, contact somebody, create an offer, organize a workshop, approach your client, update your website, send the proposal, whatever it is, so you've got a nice set of
like a strategy on a page.
Yes.
We haven't got brilliant. And Glenn, what's the one thing, one action you would take?
So I'll use me as an example. I think for me, I'm thinking about where I want my work to be seen and where I can maximize it for obviously for growth for me and income for me. So if you look at that one thing, like how do you get it to that one? So for example, there's a big event in the UK called the Chelsea Flower Show, where they show lots and lots of sculptures. And to do something yourself as a sculptor is very, very difficult. But if you can get in with somebody else and a designer, go that way. So it's finding that's me personal. You've got to find that little niche of where you think you want to show your work and find the connection to it. It doesn't have to be straight to it. It could be another connection in.
Brilliant. Yeah. find where you want to go and almost work back from there.
Mhm.
And
Reverse
Karen,
engineer. I'm just going to
you're
jump in
go on.
front of Ellie a bit on that. And it's just like, what does financial sustainability look like for you? Be
For
dead
me,
honest with us. No, but just like before you said you were like doing this, I'm like, everyone ask each other, what is financially sustainable for you? It's going to be different for everyone.
mm,
Are you to start with going, this is how much money ideally I'd love to have in a year to do whatever? Do I want to replace my job? Do I want to start off with my studio being paid for? I
mm,
want art to pay for art. How great to go, I'm going to go off to Tate Modern today, but do you know what my business is paying? This is an art trip. You will feel amazing if that has done that. So
mm,
maybe just write down, what does financial sustainability look like? How is that? For example, if you're just saying, I want to get 12 grand a year, but each one of your paintings you're selling at £30 each. How much artwork is that? Can you physically create that much work? Do your prices need to go up? Like, you can reverse engineer, but number one is just, what does financial sustainability look like for you? And what does success look like for you? Because it's going to be different for everyone.
Okay, fantastic. So what does financial sustainability look like? What
It's
does
hard to say that
success
word.
look
and
like
it
for you?
might, I just want to add one thing. There's
Yeah.
a really interesting guy I follow on Instagram actually who does this page called White Hot Magazine. It's like it's quite good actually. It's like he's like an outsider artist, and now he's got this art journal online, and he's won some awards recently. But one of the things he posted recently, which I thought was really good, was don't feel that you have to like put that pressure on yourself to only earn money from the art. Although I think, Karen, it's so good that you're saying this, and I really wish it was true for all artists. But you know, there's sort of that interim stage where if you are doing other unrelated work that's earning you money, to then do an exhibition or whatever else, don't feel bad about that, you know, because
Yeah.
realistically, that's what he was saying. You know, there's this kind of pressure to feel that you're only good enough if you're only earning from your art, and that you know, in order to get there are lots of in between
Yeah.
steps.
And
That's what
it's the same with any business.
Having
You
another
know,
job is fine. It really is. It's like, if you need to make X amount in a year and you just think, I don't know if I can do this in my art and this. If you've got another job, the best thing about other jobs is you meet other people. When you meet other people, you then tell them you're an artist, and they go, really? You're an artist? Can I have a look? You're already kind of building yourself some new customers or potential people anyway.
Yeah.
And you're getting a break from just staring at that piece of artwork and feeling bad. And if something doesn't sell, that you're beating yourself up and all of this. Sometimes it's lovely to have a little break from it. So don't feel worried if you got to get another job. Call art your proper
Brilliant.
job, though. Call that your proper job, and the other one your side job, though.
Yeah, sometimes someone just, but yeah, sometimes we need a break. I think that's right. You know, you need that, you know, yeah, art is the proper job. Of course it is. Of course it is. You know, absolutely 100%.
I know,
But
because
I
other
think
people always
you
say,
just have to
have a
be
proper job. It's just
reasonably, you just have to be reasonably practical sometimes. And, you know, I remember doing a little video as this character I've got called Legal Tender, which is about, it's all about money. A lot of my work, my personal work's about money. And in it, she goes, and people are telling me I have to get a proper job, you know, because she's like, she's an artist. And that is like the pressure that I think a lot of artists feel. So, yeah.
And we get it from a young age. I would say, can you imagine if you were like 10 years old and go,
Oh,
Mum,
it's
I want to be a dentist. And your mum went, oh, really? You're gonna have to look in people's mouths. Why don't you just become an artist? You can be a dentist any time that you want.
yeah,
Nobody
some
does that, but it
White
did
Hot.
with art.
White Hot Magazine, that's it. At White Hot Magazine on Instagram. People just ask about
I've
it.
just
It's
followed
good.
already. I've just
Yeah.
followed already.
Fantastic. I just want to say thank you to everyone. I'm just realizing we've come right to the end. I know we were wanting to do questions, but
There haven't been many on there. It's just
Okay.
been people just saying this is great and like what can we do? And I've been answering things as they go along. It
Fantastic.
feels like everyone's got a lot out of this today.
Oh, fantastic. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for coming along. Thank you to Ellie and to Glenn and to Karen as well for,
Pleasure.
all your pearls of wisdom.
So you guys,
If there are any questions, email them in to us, and I'm sure anyone will be happy to answer them.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, as I say, for joining us. Leave your feedback just on the QR code there.
Yeah.
And
Can we really push this, by the way, everyone? Yeah, everyone likes it, but Trustpilot's really important for businesses. You'll know this when your business any reviews. So if you could just QR code this and leave us something on Trustpilot, that would be amazing. Sorry, Laura, got to jump
No,
in.
that was brilliant.
Anyone-
Thank you.
anyone can also anyone, you know, in the session can also contact me or find me on Instagram if you want.
Do you want to put your
one-to-one
Insta things down here? So Glenn, Ellie, do you want to write yours down right now? I'm going to put mine.
I don't know how to write it down. Where do I
Just
write
in the
chat box?
chat
Or
box?
tell me yours and I'll do it right now. So it is.
So mine is, thanks, Karen. It's my Instagram is Ellie, it's at elliedemant.art. So that's at Ellie, ELLIE.
I've got it.
DAMANT.
I'm on it.
.art. That's it. Fab.
Brilliant.
Okay.
Oh no, Ellie Damant.
So the questions, any questions, and contact, Ellie and Glenn.
Yeah.
Thank you, as I say, so much for everyone joining us today, and we will be back again soon.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye. Lovely to meet you,
Bye.
Ellie and Glenn. You're
Bye-bye.
Hey, you
amazing.
too, Karen. You
You're
too,
amazing.
Glenn. Nice to see
Bye.
you.
And you.
You too.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.